If you're here, chances are your well water smells like rotten eggs, and that's not exactly the refreshing sip you were hoping for. Don't worry, though, we'll get to the bottom of this stinky situation and show you how to get rid of sulfur smell in your well in no time. So, hold your nose, and let's dive in. But first, what are the tools and materials you'll need to complete this task? For the full list and where to get them, check the description and pinned comment below. Now that you have all your tools and materials ready, let's get rid of that awful smell. Get rid of it! Determine the source of the sulfur smell in your well water. The first step in eliminating the sulfur smell is identifying the source of the problem, which can either be sulfur bacteria or hydrogen sulfide gas. Sulfur bacteria are a type of bacteria that live in environments with little or no oxygen and produce hydrogen sulfide gas as a byproduct. Hydrogen sulfide gas is a colorless gas with a distinct rotten egg odor that can cause a strong smell in well water. To determine the source of the sulfur smell in your well water, conduct a simple smell test. If the water smells like rotten eggs, then hydrogen sulfide gas is likely the source of the sulfur smell. If the water smells musty or earthy, then sulfur bacteria may be the cause. Test the water for sulfur. To further confirm the cause of the sulfur smell, you can perform a water test. A water test can detect the presence and concentration of hydrogen sulfide gas and sulfur bacteria in the water. You can purchase a sulfur test kit online or hire a professional to perform a water test. If you choose to perform the test yourself, follow the instructions on the test kit to collect a water sample. It's important to collect the sample correctly to ensure accurate results. After collecting the water sample, follow the instructions provided to test the water sample for sulfur. The test kit will usually come with strips or reagents to test for the presence of sulfur. If the test kit indicates the presence of sulfur, then you can proceed with the appropriate treatment options. Alternatively, you can send the water sample to a lab for analysis. The lab will test the water for sulfur and provide you with a report of the results. Perform shock chlorination. If the sulfur smell in your well water is caused by sulfur bacteria, shock chlorination may be necessary to kill the bacteria and get rid of the smell. This involves adding a high concentration of chlorine to the well and letting it sit for a period of time. Start by gathering the necessary equipment for this process. You'll need a source of chlorine, such as calcium hypochlorite or sodium hypochlorite, rubber gloves, safety goggles, a measuring cup, a plastic bucket, and a hose. Turn off the power to your well pump. Remove the well cap or cover and use the hose to wash down the inside of the well casing. Mix the chlorine solution according to the instructions on the package. Usually, this involves dissolving the chlorine in water in a plastic bucket. Slowly pour the chlorine solution into the well. Replace the well cap or cover and use the hose to wash down the outside of the well casing. Turn on all of the faucets in your home, including outdoor spigots, until you can smell chlorine coming from them. Once that happens, turn off the faucets. Let the chlorine sit in the well for at least 12 to 24 hours, or as recommended by the chlorine manufacturer. Next, turn on each faucet one at a time until you can no longer smell chlorine coming from them. This will flush the chlorine out of your plumbing system. Wait at least a week before testing your water for sulfur again. It's important to follow the instructions on the chlorine package carefully and wear rubber gloves and safety goggles when handling chlorine. In addition, don't use the well water during this period. You can flush your toilet a few times, but don't use the water for anything else. It's also a good idea to contact a professional to perform shock chlorination if you are uncomfortable doing it yourself. Shock chlorination can be effective in killing sulfur bacteria and getting rid of the sulfur smell in your well water. However, it may not be a permanent solution and the smell may return over time. Install an activated carbon filter. Installing an activated carbon filter is a great solution if the sulfur smell is caused by hydrogen sulfide. Activated carbon can absorb the hydrogen sulfide gas and trap it so it can't be released into your water. The first step is to buy the necessary filter. Make sure to buy one that's the right size for your water system. Once you've bought the filter, you need to install it. Start by turning off the water supply to your house. Then, locate the main water line so you can attach the filter. Once the filter is in place, turn the water supply back on and check for any leaks. Now, you'll need to activate the filter. This is done by soaking the filter in a solution of water and potassium permanganate. The potassium permanganate will activate the carbon so it can absorb the hydrogen sulfide. You'll need to monitor the filter to make sure it's still working properly. Check it periodically to make sure it's still absorbing the gas and not letting it out into your water. Install an oxidizing filter. Determine the location for the filter. Ideally, it should be installed at the point where your water supply enters your home, but it can also be installed at the point of use, e.g., under the sink or at the shower head. Shut off the water supply to your home. Install the filter according to the manufacturer's instructions. Most oxidizing filters are relatively easy to install and require basic plumbing skills. Turn the water supply back on and allow the system to fill with water. Check for leaks and make sure everything is working properly. Run the water for a few minutes to flush out any air or debris that may have accumulated during installation. Monitor the filter regularly to ensure that it's working properly. Some filters may need to be replaced periodically, so be sure to check the manufacturer's recommendations. Install aeration equipment. Determine the appropriate location for the equipment. Aeration equipment is typically installed near the water source, such as a well or storage tank. Choose the appropriate type of aeration equipment. There are several different types of aeration equipment available, including diffused air systems, spray aeration systems, and packed tower aeration systems. The type of equipment you choose will depend on the specific needs of your system. Install the aeration equipment. This will typically involve mounting the equipment in the appropriate location and connecting it to the water source. You may need to hire a professional plumber or contractor to help with this step. After installing the equipment, test the water to ensure that the hydrogen sulfide gas has been effectively removed. Install a hydrogen peroxide injection system. The first step in installing a hydrogen peroxide injection system is to determine the appropriate system size and location. This will depend on the size of your water system and the level of sulfur bacteria present. You'll also need to choose a location that is easily accessible and safe for the system. Once you've determined the appropriate system size and location, you'll need to install the hydrogen peroxide injection pump and piping. This involves attaching the pump to the water system and running piping from the pump to the injection point. The injection point is where the hydrogen peroxide is introduced into the water system. This can be done by drilling a small hole in the water line and attaching an injection quill, or by installing a T-fitting with a separate injection port. It's important to ensure that the injection point is located after any filters or treatment systems in the water line. Once the injection point is installed, you can begin mixing and injecting the hydrogen peroxide into the water system. This is typically done using a storage tank or barrel, where the hydrogen peroxide is mixed with water and then injected into the system using the pump and injection point. After the hydrogen peroxide injection system is installed, it's important to monitor and adjust the system as needed. This may involve testing the water for sulfur bacteria levels, adjusting the injection rate, and replacing the hydrogen peroxide storage tank or barrel as needed. We recommend you get a professional plumber to help you with this step if it's difficult for you to do. If none of the above solutions work, it may be necessary to drill a new well. Thank you for watching my video. I hope you liked it and found it useful. If so, please like, share, and comment to let me know what you thought. Your feedback is important to me. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel so that you don't miss any of my upcoming videos.